Look at any health and safety management system, and you will find two terms used constantly: risk assessment and risk profiling. Too often, practitioners treat these methodologies as the same process. Blurring these definitions creates a structural vulnerability. When an organization cannot distinguish between evaluating a single activity and measuring enterprise-wide exposure, it fails to allocate its resources accurately. This results in localized accidents and systemic compliance failures. We must establish a clear dichotomy. Risk assessment is a tactical tool focused on specific tasks. Risk profiling is a macro-level strategic framework designed for the entire business unit or organization. Confusing the two deprives senior leadership of the precise data they need to identify and manage organizational threats. Both methodologies are legally and structurally essential. Together, they function as the bedrock of an effective health and safety management system. Tactical assessment and strategic profiling operate as two distinct procedural pillars. While their stages differ, both are required to support the health and safety management system base. To understand the strategic whole of an organization, we must first isolate and deconstruct the tactical element operating on the ground. Without understanding the distinct boundaries of each methodology, professionals cannot effectively direct funding or prevent harm. Risk assessment is a process strictly focused on specific workplace activities. Its objective is the prevention of localized accidents, injuries, and occupational ill health. As seen in this document header overlaid on the architectural plan, this process is legally anchored by Regulation 3 of the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999. It mandates that employers make a suitable and sufficient assessment of risks. Operating on the workplace floor, this assessment relies on a tight, informal, and highly observational feedback loop of the current operations. This 5-step cyclical flowchart maps the specific stages. Step 1, highlighted here, is to identify the hazards. Step 2 identifies the precise people at risk from those localized hazards. Step 3 evaluates the risk and decides if more needs to be done. Risk is the likelihood of a hazard causing harm combined with its potential consequence. If necessary, practitioners deploy preventative controls, specific measures designed to eliminate or reduce that risk to an acceptable level. Step 4 is to record the significant findings of the assessment. Finally, the cycle pulses at Step 5, review and update, to be done periodically or following an incident. The core operational output of this cycle is the deployment of direct controls that reduce specific hazards to an acceptable level. A perfectly executed risk assessment secures the immediate task. However, a vast collection of these localized assessments is mathematically insufficient to capture enterprise-wide threats. We now shift to a significant change in scale. This top-down view of geometric shapes assembling into a unified structure represents risk profiling, a macro-level activity. Its primary purpose is to make aggregate, high-level risks visible across the entire organization, commanding the attention of senior leadership. Profiling considers health and safety threats, but expands its scope to consolidate them alongside financial impacts and business disruption. Building an organizational risk profile requires a strict 9-stage framework. Stages 1 and 2 require agreeing on definitions and selecting a team to gather operational information. Stages 3 and 4 map the organizational context and identify potential risks. Stages 5 and 6 weigh potential consequences against existing and additional control measures. Stages 7 and 8 form the peak of the structure, resolving into a prioritized risk register dashboard. Stage 9 wraps the entire structure in a continuous improvement loop. The ultimate output of this 9-stage process is a prioritized risk register that explicitly dictates where senior leadership must focus. Risk profiling translates operational hazard data into the language of senior leadership, enabling strategic resource allocation. To permanently separate these concepts, this comparative matrix contrasts the two methodologies side by side. Comparing the level of analysis, risk assessment targets the specific task, whereas profiling targets the entire organization. Their purposes differ. Assessment aims to prevent direct physical harm. Profiling aims to prioritize resources. In scope, assessment looks at direct hazards, while a profile considers wide-ranging threats. Finally, the outputs. Assessment yields localized control measures. Profiling yields an enterprise-wide risk register. A collection of compliant localized assessments never automatically equals a strategic organizational profile. Treating one tool as a substitute for the other leaves blind spots in an organization's defense architecture. Despite their differences in scale and scope, these two methodologies are symbiotically interconnected. This node connects to the network, representing the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, the HSE's HSG 65 and INDG 275 framework. Intelligence flows upward. Risk assessments provide ground-level data to build an organizational profile. Strategy flows downward. The profile dictates where funding is directed. Without localized assessments, a risk profile is a theoretical exercise detached from the workplace. Without the strategy of a risk profile, local assessments remain uncoordinated, reactive, and ultimately underfunded. True system integration requires localized tactical control to directly inform and trigger enterprise strategic command. For all health and safety practitioners and senior leadership teams, the overall strategic and tactical imperative is entirely clear. Leaders must master the 5 tactical steps of risk assessment to immediately secure the workplace and protect the individual worker. They must equally navigate the 9 strategic steps of risk profiling to continuously review and secure the organization against catastrophic disruption. A robust, effective health and safety management system is entirely impossible unless both tools function in perfect tandem. Achieving continual improvement requires mastering both the micro hazards of today and the macro threats of tomorrow.